Usual for spending time. It's really enjoyable. Looking forward to our sessions and getting the opportunity to play. I want to thank you for spending this time with me. And this is officially In the Shadow of the White City. This is season 3, episode 3. To say goodbye is to die a little. When we last left our coterie, they'd, on their flight from Indianapolis, decided to stop for the evening and partake of Erzulie's hospitality. Unfortunately, as is usual in such situations, their timing could not be better. They arrive at the building next door to Redno 5, in time to be party to and part of a salon, a gathering of members of the clan of the Rose, the sensates, the hedonists, the perverts, if you will, of the tower, as they converse and have a party, which is actually a meeting of the mind. And for those wary enough to pick up on the subtle and ostentatious displays of style, conversation, and subtext, realize that this is far closer to and is actually an intelligence meeting of one of the most duplicitously transparent intelligence networks in the entirety of the world. Most of the sensates present have been alive longer than some nations have existed, others longer than most municipalities in the continental United States. Some, of course, being party to this particular century and within the last few decades, still having had the benefit of an education that spawns millennia. And while on the surface, most only recognize the toreador as the effete, the artistes, the poseurs, the style mavens, and social butterflies of whatever city they are in. Those wary enough to realize to look deeper than the angelic faces or occasionally demonic faces. Those wary enough to stare just beneath the surface realize that they are not the social butterflies. They are the social engineers. They are the velvet to the iron fist. They are the power behind the throne, the viziers, the advisors, the trusted consorts who have decided and manipulated the flow of time in their favor. Everyone knows the Ventru are controlling. Everyone knows the Tremere are duplicitous. Everyone knows that the Nosferatus are masters of secrets. And everyone ignores the empty-headed dilettantes. Everyone ignores the many social gatherings where people who have the ability and power to shape the course of nations, they ignore the hangers-on, the camp followers. They ignore the hosts and hostesses. And all the while, the true power of the land dances along the petals of the flowers. So we pick up with Dia having greeted Erzulie, and Erzulie smiles broaden, and she looks over the retinue in tow. I did not expect you all to be here so soon. Otherwise, I would have had more time prepared for you. Was Stedman nice?
Well, stoic, I would say, but nice nonetheless.
We will have to talk to him about that. And she looks at Secundus, and she looks at Seth and Frost hanging around the entrance, moving to and fro, keeping a watchful eye. You all have increased your number. That is entirely interesting. I'm sure you know most of our gathered, but let me introduce you all. You will probably need some security, she says to Dia.
Yeah, just smiles and nods and gives Seth a wink over her shoulder and just follows Erzulie.
As she makes her way, instead of moving closer to Karen, who is clearly the center of this particular salon, the guest du jour, as it were, she instead moves slightly farther afield, speaking with a gentleman who could best be described as a handsome young Frank Sinatra, is a slightly taller young lady who strikes a similar description as to Eritrea. A little shorter, clearly more defined musculature, but that same Grecian nose and high brow, dark hair plaited stylishly down one and over one shoulder, hanging loosely. Her style of dress is a strange combination of both masculine and feminine at once. The shift that she wears highlights the fact that she is entirely all woman, and yet the silken pants, giving the image of a skirt, denote that she is considerably more muscled than most would assume. Concordia, I'd like you to meet Justine Lasky. She is one of the city's more subtle petals. Justine looks over Dia, seeing a similar two-spirited nature, and smiles, her voice deeper than it should be. And I have heard so much about you. Are you perhaps going to entertain us with that lovely voice?
Well, I didn't come prepared with anything, but if Erzulie would like, then maybe I should take the stage for a little bit.
I would take that as a very hospitable gift. I'll carry it with me nights from now. Stepping closer, she extends her left hand, making eye contact with Concordia. As the room falls away, would everyone within the room be so kind as to roll your resolve and subterfuge, as much like a darkened room with lights going on in a row, quickly one after the other, the air grows warmer, the lights seem more focused, eyes color stand out, skin seems more diaphanous, the gathered assemblage all turning their gaze towards Karen as she clears her throat. Nothing so grandiose or obvious as a clinking of glass, but more of just a subtle
out of character real quick. Mm-hmm. Rob is still off in the other room, right?
Yes.
Yeah, drink. Okay.
Yes. Seth, there are certain places that you instinctually never want to be. You never want to be the center of attention, the focus of anyone's questions. You never want to be in those places, because when people start questioning, people start investigating, and people start prying. Far too many secrets are spilled just in the passing of a question, a simple inspection. Those shoes look as if he's traipsed across a muddy field. Those pants look as if they have been ironed recently. The gloss and sheen to them means that his iron is set too hot. It's not something that he usually does. His tie, being as thin as it is something that was clearly bought off rack. It is not silk. By the fact that he can't afford a silk tie for everyday wear, places him in the lower 30s income. With that sort of income, that means and on and on and on. Much the same way that he sizes up targets and he keeps a careful watch, using every bit of deductive reasoning he has to arrive at the most logical and complete result. He hates being the subject of such intuitive deductive reasoning. And now he has another place he wishes to not be. Because while he is not the center of attention, he does not appreciate his heart skipping a beat. He does not appreciate the glare from being in a room filled with the beautiful people. He does not appreciate the weight of it, because while he would much rather stick to the shadows, while he would much rather keep a wary watch on the doors, the entrances, the exits, the windows, and the camera point of view, here he is, his mouth mildly agape, and he's staring at the auburn-tressed Karen Stanislava, the centerpiece of everyone's focus. And much like most of the people here, he is awestruck. That small motion of clearing her voice has pulled every flicker of attention in her direction. And even those who are wary and aware has a hard time not taking in every minute detail of her being. Dia, even knowing that what is happening, even knowing that it is a typical defense that's taught early on, that when emotions start being tickled, when emotions start being pulled to erect a wall around oneself, using one's own aura to stretch and create a space of breath, even with that knowledge and shielding herself as best as she can, she realizes that Stanislava, Karen, is very much a power to be reckoned with. That near elfin jaw, the auburn tresses, which are clearly an unnatural shade, but seeming to be something that one might glimpse in a moonlight stroll in some lost forest. Those eyes made of warm caramel, seeming liquid and sparkling all at once, and the slightest bent of a smirk in the corner of her mouth. You almost forget to take in her ensemble. You almost forget to take in how she's dressed. Everything else seems duller by comparison. And without raising her voice, it feels as if it slides along again, as if she's standing just close enough to stir and cause the heart to beat, as if there's a small dampness along the skin where her voice glides along. I know that we have suffered a few setbacks in the last few months, and while many of us would assume it to be a faltering of leadership, I assure you that those foibles and missteps are not due a lack of leadership, but in fact of too much leadership. Miss Tria Bell could not make our gathering this evening, and it is a very good reason why. She finds us all boring. She finds us all beneath her attention and need. And while, yes, she has managed to aid our positioning within Primogenes of Chicago, she has not seen to our far-flung flowers of the southern suburbs. She has not seen to our flowers of far northern suburbs, nor western suburbs. Much like the bulk of the tower, they consider anything outside of our central business district as not proper society. I believe that should change. I believe that, much like Modius espoused, that we are one people, we are one tapestry, and that we should truly be united as best as possible. We should be one vision, one mission. We should be, but we are not. And while each of us claws and scrapes and takes what we can, the scraps left over, those few gems falling through her fingers, we should not be privy or subject to the whims of someone who does not recognize anything but what they hold as being of artistic and of value, of intrinsic merit. But I could be wrong. Luke, what is it that you think, considering your loss of childer, considering how how little progress Miss Phelps has made in Indianapolis, considering your steps with Alexa having fallen on deaf ears, it appears, as the Scourge is still yet about their task of hunting down our potential associates, the Dustborn. And as a small murmur begins to spread and the lights take on their brightness and the shadows recede, and it is clear that she is vacating the podium and the center stage of everyone's focus, we turn our gaze to the bar. Walking into the bar area, Rob is immediately struck with the sense of home. He has been and drunken in 90% of the dive bars from Sheboygan all the way to New Orleans and back. Having the opportunity to be in a bar without having to be on security, without having to watch over some church leader who was gone to evangelize to the poor, having to not be led around by an invisible leash and forced to do things he would rather not, is heaven. Walking into the bar, the bartender looks him over as he eases closest and sits a pint and a half bottle of Arrogant Bastard on the bar. Might be a little strong for you, bud, but I think this might be what you're looking for.
Hell yeah. I haven't had anything this strong in a long time. Bart pitches it up, gulps it down, slams it back down the table.
Yeah, I thought that might be it. You're not normal to these sorts of things.
I don't really belong much anywhere around here. More of a blowover from Chicago.
Well, not many of you Pony Express types come through here, especially not on a night like tonight. They're take a look at all the security out there. Surprised someone doesn't have a gun to your back already.
Maybe I just fit too well with other drunken idiots here.
Nah, you're not making out with the wall or getting lost in the touch of the velour of your pants. Plus, it looks like you shop off of like the second-hand rack. No offense.
Or third or fourth hand.
Who are you telling? Don't tell anybody, but there's a Plato's Closet like 3 blocks over that I go to. They have some of the best knockoff shit you would never think. And then most of it's new. Like these kids, these things, you know, them out there, they'll go and buy something they're gonna wear like half a night and then turn it in. Those are the poor ones, of course, but they still barely wear it, barely touch it, and it's there to be bought. I do wish they had larger sizes for the underwear, but you know, beggars can't be choosers.
I've never been. I don't have much care for clothes.
You look it. So Chicago's not your normal stomping grounds. Why not?
A lot of people hate me, want me dead, or disgusted with me. One or the other.
Oh, so you're a popular guy. Good. That's good. So you kind of do fit in with this crowd. Of course, if I were you, I'd make sure I have a way out. Last new guy they brought through here, he didn't stay around too long. As in, he didn't live too long.
Good advice. I've honestly been reeling from the past few hours. I didn't even think about that. All I wanted to drink, get this horrible taste out of my mouth.
Was it a guy or a girl?
A mix of both.
That makes it a little more difficult, but everyone always runs to the mouthwash or they run to the hard stuff. No, it goes with the different pH. Like if it was a guy, you want something a little sweet, but a lot of spice. If it was a girl, you want something a lot sour, something crunchy. I don't know why it works that way, but it's kind of like rubbing your hands on stainless steel after dealing with onions and garlic. It just takes the taste away almost instantaneously. So what you need, basically, was a guy and a girl. You're definitely gonna need some Thai. You want something that's umami, get you a little bit of everything, crunchy, salty, sour, sweet, spicy. I'll taste the taste right away.
The kind of fluids that I usually get on me, those really help.
No, trust me, it will. It will. I've unfortunately, I don't want to give too much of my past away, but way back when people knew what to call the club instead of just the Succubus Club, when it was actually called the Succubus instead of all this newfangled shit. It's a club. Why do you gotta tell everybody that's a club? It's part of the understood. Oh, it's the Succubus Club. No, it's not. It's the Succubus. But anyway, back in my day, us blood dials, we understood the way to make sure you were healthy the next day. You take a week off, then you go back, maybe 2 if you had a rough night. But either way, there's a way to do things. And these kids these days barely understand how to tie their shoes. I saw a pair of fucking Martins. They had clip-on laces.
What for?
Because they couldn't tie their fucking shoes. They don't know about the bunny ears.
Well, before we talk the whole night away, would you mind giving me one to go, and I'll pay the tab and find where my friends are? Or
what do you mean tab? Normally it's a reach around or a kiss. Or this is the after hours. You pay what you want. There ain't no real tab. Until we run out of whatever it is that you're asking for, it's pretty much on the house. That's the reason why most people don't get invited to the after hours, because they like to abuse it. And he slaps another one on the bar. By the way.
Yes?
Don't take this the wrong way. But, are you dead?
Long dead.
I thought so. Normally you, there's an intuition. It's like Gator, but it's like Deadar. And but you're right on that cups, and you look like you a guy that likes to drink. So I'm a little torn because you don't look as dead as you should. What do you do? Like most of you guys, put on the show, put on the act, makeup, wigs, and all that. But no, there's something you're not quite there yet. You're dead, clearly triggered my Deadar, but you're just alive enough.
I think all the days I spent alive out in the sun really helped against the paleness we like to get.
Yeah, it's not the paleness. There's a lot of pale guys, especially doing these days with all the heroin going around and the focus drugs. But there's around the eyes. That's what it is. The eyes. You look more drunk than dead.
Well, I had a few drinks the night I had the unfortunate time of picking up my sire, thinking she was a hitchhiker. I never had a bigger surprise than when I see some 5'5" Spanish chick pick me up by the throat and throw me against a freaking tree. That was not my best day.
Oh, that sounds. Well, that pays for one for sure. And he reaches under the bar and throws another bottle on the bar top. Takes the bar towel, and instead of wiping the bar, he actually dabs the back of his neck. Oh my goodness! I know. It's against the rules for me to ask for anything while I'm on the duty, but he takes out a pen out of his back pocket, takes one of the matchbooks and jots a number down. If you ever need almost anything, and he slides the matchbook across to you. I may be mostly retired as a blood doll, but my goodness, the opportunity to maybe taste it again a little bit, it would definitely hit that spot. You know what I mean?
I'll keep you on my mind. Robert takes the beer in his hands.
Just ask for Maddie. If in case my nosy roommate asks, just ask for Maddie. Be around, hopefully.
All right. Nice talking to you. I'll see you.
Heading out of the bar, and knowing that they clearly kept moving down the hall, you look down there and see the 9-10 other clearly clearly hired security, all in various shades of dark suits and ties and without ties. Some of them are actually still wearing sunglasses inside. Their haircuts clearly done today. Their suits, while all dark, have a similar tailored look to them, not designed to hide any bit of their form, of their musculature. And it's clear that their muscles, while it doesn't come out of a spray can, definitely comes out of a canned gym, unlike someone who spent their time busting their knuckles and slamming their elbows, lifting and carrying.
Does Robert see Seth, Dia, or Frost anywhere?
Frost is standing not far away from them, having chosen not to head into the meeting inside. And while he is clearly of a similar cloth, he is cut completely different than the tailored, well-coiffed, immaculate sorts that line the walls left and right before the door.
I guess Robert will head over and chat up the security. They didn't seem to card him and vet him before.
No, they look you over and it's clear that you're a muscle just like them, so they don't really have much. Their immediate impression of Robert is that he's a freelancer at best and maybe a part-timer at worst, whereas Frost is clearly the sort that does this full-time but on a different echelon based on his dress and how much he spent on his ensemble. And you all are discussing things. And as you strike up the band, as it were, and get people actually invested in communicating, you see a few sneers and a few looking directly and obviously looking down their nose at both you and Frost, considering that neither of you are wearing someone's month's salary on your back. And it's clear by the fact that you are not dressed in a similar fashion that you clearly don't have the top of the line gun rails, nor do you have the Makarov Z789. You don't have the tailored sense in regards to your armaments either. It's more than likely you have the standard cuff at best. You probably don't even have the concealed holdout piece. Probably, knowing you guys, you probably got, instead of having a slapjack or brass knuckle, you probably got a roll of quarters in one of your pockets. And while that consideration and those conversations and those typical schoolyard size-ups are happening outside, inside, Aluk clears his throat, and instead of immediately turning on the wattage, he takes his glasses to the end of his nose, looking over the few faces that are actually openly staring at him and those who are doing so subtly, which are the more dangerous ones. I could bother to try to explain the actions that cost me my childhood. I could try to explain why the teachings that were wasted on him and the teachings that drove Keisha into the arms of the church. But why bother? They're clearly not of the standard that they are clearly not the beautiful works of art that I attempted to make them. While Annabelle has been nothing but kind to me, I believe that we have more pressing matters, considering that Keisha, thank you for mentioning her, Karen, has mentioned that, well, Prince Decker is ripe for the taking, and our roses in Milwaukee have chosen not to. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, Erzulie has messengers from Keisha from Indianapolis here with us tonight. Why are we talking about old news when they can clearly bring us the new news? And he for Secundus and Dia. And while it's not a whiplash of air, but most gazes go towards the two who are still dressed relatively matchingly. And Zach takes us half a step away from Dia as the gazes stare in their direction.
Dia has been trained for this from day one, so it doesn't bother them very much that everybody's staring, obviously. And doesn't even bother to turn on awe or anything other than that. They just raise their voice slightly and clear their throats. And yes, it has been a very eventful evening. As our dear Luke has stated, Prince Deca was looking for his child there. And needless to say, it was best that he not find his child there. So we did not find her. And now I have to, unfortunately, give that man the news. I'm not looking forward to it, mind you. But one must do what one must do. Besides, I think he'll be quite more busy worrying about the lupines he has running loose in his city than what I may or may not have found. So there's that.
The pause is pregnant with expectation. You can see the wheels spinning as several members take in the offered information, clearly attempting to read whatever lies between the lines. And Zachary smiles, far too rat-like manner. If I may, it is not my place to say, of course. I've never stayed in Milwaukee. It's beneath us all, actually. But in regards to Luke's child, I must admit that when I knew Simone in New York, he was a gentleman of good standing. Any reasons for him to disparage his maker perhaps should be considered. Not that I would consider it overly much considering how things took place, but there's never a reason to disparage such an honorable and upstanding sire. I know for one, though all of the pains that I've suffered, I would never turn my back nor say that I was not of the efforts spent in making without reason. So offering insult by disparaging one's child and ruining a dead man does not remove the very real that you or Luke have not produced anything of note. I believe the best parts of you, well, there are no best parts of you, if I must say so directly, and I believe that this is the moment that we should say so directly. After Karen has given us our mission statement, our reason for being, in the absence of Modius, there are those of us who should rise to the occasion to further expand the network of our roses, producing such upstanding members as Secundus here. After all, Marion, while a great trainer, has left the child to travel to the ministry, to be swayed by the alluring dulcet tones of some gospel song, some Negro spiritual. No. We have our mission statement. We have something noble and honorable worth considering continuing. And yet we're focused on Chicago. There's nothing here. This city of Castal Ventru, piss poor Tremere, and led by Miss Triabel, who coddles those of us who don't have the understanding to rise to the moment. Unless, of course, I'm mistaken. Have you done anything recently, Luke, that we should know of? The clear-cut direct attack is anything but subtle. It is outright calling someone out to the carpet. It is enough to feel exactly as what it is. A smack, a backhand, and there's a... as Erzulie just covers her mouth, glimpses are thrown.
Throughout all of this, Dia is keeping the most serene, placid. I think First Nations people tend to be known for their stoic faces. That is on Dia's face right now. The very just slight raise of her brow is the only thing that happens. But inside, they are freaking out at what's going on.
Seth knows a power play when he sees one, and the only reaction he has is resisting the urge to pull out his little notebook and start making notes. But he is staying well back from all of this to make sure he's staying out of the sight lines of Erzulie, Aluk, and Zach, and probably a half a step back from Dia, just to keep himself physically out of what he sees as a serious power play on the willpower level that he is not prepared to even remotely involve himself in.
Excellent. So the scene is set. The gauntlet has been thrown. Luke opens his mouth and closes it, looking to Erzulie, then back to Karen. If you were worth my attention to explain myself, I would. You are not. This is not the place. We have guests after all. If you had been taught properly by your much vaunted sire, you would know to not air dirty laundry on guests, namely your own, Mr. Forge. What steps have you made toward codifying our steps toward Golconda, offering those who can't make it as Toreador the option of becoming human again? Oh, is that mystery far above your understanding? Have you figured out even the first step? Yet you choose to address my wayward childer. It's a low blow, even for you. Zachary smiles, taking a step closer to Aluk. There's no such thing as a low blow. I would normally punch up, but you are beneath me. As such, I punch where you are. And right now, where you are is too childer wasted. The blood given to those who can't and shouldn't have had it. And you here kissing, lapping at Annabelle's boots, while two of your children, one now dead, a friend of mine dead, and the other given over to the Setites. Damn this foolhardy attempt to rebrand as the ministry. They are not the ministry. They are the Setites. They're not even the children of Osiris. They are the Setites. You have given your children to the grave and to snakes. Anyone and everyone who has been in a similar situation with the beast barely contained knows that look, knows that spittle flying edge that Zachary is dancing up. The consideration there, but Erzulie steps in. Now y'all need to stop, because if there's going to be blood, I will make sure that each of you spill it. This is my home. This is my domain. This is my hospitality. Control yourselves, and let's get back to the matter at hand. Luke, you've lost 2 children. Zachary, your attempts to find Golconda have not produced fruit. And Karen, child, we're not here to attack Annabelle. We really ain't. We're here to mourn Modius. We're here to find steps to broaden the network and strengthen the ties that he's laid down. And she pulls Segundus closer to her in a one-armed hug. We are here because the youngest of us seem to be the bravest of us, if not the most foolish of us. She looks at Zach, back to her. There are a lot of things we should be addressing. The failures, they don't gotta be one of them right now. We can call each other everything but a child of God if we so choose later. But right now, we have 2 people who have just recently been down in Indianapolis. We have the lovely Concordia, who has a voice that rivals even Keisha's in terms of loveliness. We have Segundus, who, in her short time amongst us, has been given the opportunity to study at the hands of my child, Marion, and learn so very much of what it is to be who and what we are. And they are on a mission from God, devil, and all the saints to make sure. Now, do I have this right, dear? Geneva has opened a back door for Jackson.
Okay, storyteller, what? I heard what you said, but would Dia know anything about that, or is that news?
That very much is news, because officially on this, as far as everyone is concerned, Dalton has declared its independence. It is no longer officially a tower city. It is an independent nation. It officially has no ties to Chicago. Yet this mission is most diplomatic, and yeah.
Well, that's a bit of news I hadn't gotten yet, but I don't believe so. Yes, we were given this mission by the Hounds of Chicago, but I have a strange feeling that it was doomed to fail from the start. They knew who they were sending us to, and since they did not wish to deal with it, we were left to do so as the little brother of the big city. So, no, I don't quite think that's right, but maybe you know something I don't.
Do say speaks up. Get the fuck out of here. You know what's going on. If I even know what the fuck's going on in Riverdale, you gotta know what's going on over there. Jackson's looking for an opportunity to use your beloved Dalton as a stepping ground into pissing all over Riverdale. And he can't do it officially as long as you all are officially independent. But if he gets you marching to his orders, he will definitely use it, just like he has been for years. Just like Loden did before him. Just like Peterson attempted before he had his teeth kicked in. Don't play stupid with us.
Darling, I am many things, but stupid is not one of them. So if you assume that I'd be playing it, then I have no clue why you would assume such. Secondly, I just said I have been out running errands and doing missions. So anything that may or may not be going on back at home, I know nothing about. So what you think I know, or what you think I don't know, is entirely on you.
Look, child. It is clear they put either you playing us for a fool or they trying to play you for a fool. Now, one of those things just can't go. You got our blood running through them damn veins of yours, so you better shape up and ship right. Because just because he got the same color skin as us, don't make him kin as us. And he playing your leader, your dom. Why would they call themselves dom anyway? They don't even know if they man or woman. Dom. You ain't dominant to nobody, motherfuckers. Anyway, Erzulie, that's a goddamn lie. 2, why didn't you tell me that before I drove my happy ass all the way out here? Because there ain't no reason for me to be here when I could be there making sure that we are set in Riverdale. Child, just calm down. Didn't you just see we're not going to spill no blood in here? Now, zip your lips, open your ears, pay a little more attention, and you wouldn't be half a step behind everybody else in Riverdale. Now, what'd you do, say? You better get on with that shit. I ain't half step behind nobody. Really? Don't you inhabit the smallest little domain in Riverdale? Are you trying to make up for that shortage, darling? Look here, Erzulie.
This is one time Dia just can't help themselves, and they guffaw, but catch it quickly and cover them.
So needless to say, several things come to light in the exchange of information with these particular sensates. This particular salon is very much on the edge of a raucous party. It is far closer to a bruja moot or a gangrel get-together, a gangrel rally versus a typical salon. It is far more fiery and far more passionate in its displays. Normally there's tea of some sort, not because it's drunken, but typically because of the scent that it provides. There's some somber classical music playing in the background instead of Barry White. There is definitively no open expressions of plainly stated truth. Yet, there very much is, in this particular salon, intelligence being bandied about offhandedly and secrets being shared in the offing. It is not long before, of course, dawn threatens, and most of the gathered sensates and hedonists leave. Karen starting the departure, Erzulie greeting and hugging everybody, a kiss on cheeks, a hug, and in some cases, an outright two-step removed handshake, letting you know where they rank as far as their esteem. People such as Kyra, who has been pursuing Henry all night, rank a head nod. Akachi and Zachary and even Dr. Benway receive a hug, though not a kiss. Lucy and above receive a hug, a thumb, a kiss. But finally, when it comes to Justine, who insists on saying a special goodbye to Dia, warm, camaraderie hug that is a little too long, a second, no more than, and a slide of a hand into Dia's, leaving a very old but somehow still functioning Motorola flip in her hand as Justine moves out into the exit with Tobias on her. Strangely enough, throughout most of this, Sophia had been biting her tongue and staying as silent as possible because much like Erzulie, much like Zachary's display, and much like Duce, it is clear that Sophia has every disdain for calm, staid, exchanging information and would much rather cut somebody than watch this shit. So with most of the others departed, leaving Dia, and Seth, and Secundus, with Erzulie and Sophia, with Stedman locking up behind, escorted out Muscle, opening the door so Rob and Frost can enter, and Zach and you all settle on the last divan against the far wall as Erzulie and Sophia settle on the other. I am sorry y'all got the chance to see all of that. Normally, they are a bunch of stick-up-the-ass, quiet, subtle, snidely whiplash sons of. But tonight, everybody was in rare moods. Ads had that good stuff going on. And with the Dustborn being what they are as of late, they have been making sure that all of their friends and associates have been as high as one can possibly be.
No apology necessary. Trust me, in my family squabbles, things get a lot more heated, and more than often, somebody explodes. So
I heard about that. Were you at Golgotha too?
I missed that little party, but I have heard the stories. And let me tell you, when it comes to family gatherings, I stay just as hidden as I did here. Because I don't want to be the center of that nightmare anytime.
Now, Chico, tell me. You say you weren't there now. I understand, but I just gotta know. Was it true that old man Dusabo staked somebody in the middle of all that?
There are several rumors concerning what happened. One of them includes a flamethrower, which I don't leave a lot of credence to, but I definitely know something happened. The details have so far eluded me, but I have been asking questions.
When you find out, make sure you bring that my way. I would love to find out if old man Dusabo still has a little go in him.
I can be pretty sure the flamethrower story was an exaggeration, so chances are still 50-50.
Well, anybody brave enough to use a flamethrower, they definitely get a feather from me, but I was just curious about Dusabo. He has managed to stay on the edge of everybody's attention and keep you, pardon my French, I don't want to talk ill about your family. You don't take this the wrong way, do you?
My family, I'm from Boston, so you can talk ill about my family because I know there's ill in my family.
All right, good, because I've heard so many strange things. I got a friend who hangs out with the Chantry. Who am I kidding? You all know her. She is part of the Chantry, though not really. But anyway, she ain't been around in a while. I need to probably check her. She was so creeped out by Dusabo during Striker's Empyrean party. But I must admit, and don't tell ads, but that salt and pepper, one golden-eyed little man, he does something for me. Definitely strikes that poppy itch. He's like the old man that maybe a little more strong than he should be. And I would like to know if he is as physically active as they say he was. I heard, I don't tell nobody, but I heard that he has a sword in that cane that he has every understanding of how to use. Is that true?
All I can tell you about the Dusau is every myth you've heard about the sneaky Odin, pretty much applies to our one-eyed Tremere.
Now that is interesting. I'm gonna have to talk to Hestia about that. She
Just
don't
don't
see
know.
it. You don't see it, but he there's something about that dad body that he's got. I know there's more muscle there than he lets on. But anyway, so you all are on your way to a place to stay. So here's what we're gonna do. And she looks at Rob. I may have to do it twice for you, but we do have amenities that we can share. Make sure that you all are safe until sunrise. But y'all gonna have to do something for me. You guys okay with that?
That is the way of things.
Don't have a choice here.
You always have a choice. Why you gotta be so grim? And is that beard in your hands?
What about it?
Well, what you do behind closed doors ain't nobody's business. But don't you understand that most of us don't do stuff like that, and that is impolite and improper? Who raised you, boy?
I was dumped in the woods like a naked baby. So I've been fending for myself most of my life as kindred.
Well, child, look, I understand my side was never initially that warm, but they kind of grew on me. I kind of wore them down. I had to learn to stand on my own, because once I wore them down, they were trying to get a breath, being squeezed by a crazy jacket. I finally got free and got my own thing going, but I understand. I do. You may have the ability to not empty your guts when partaking of such things, but have you watched as one person's gag reflex will trigger another person's gag reflex?
Oh, I know.
And so, in light of that, next time you all around, now with me, you're mostly fine. I don't have a problem with it, but I'd hate to see people commit faux pas that could be avoided. So when you are around others who are just as dead as yourself and myself, it would be best not to trigger their gag reflex, because despite what everybody says, blood still shows up in black. And as you see, this is 100% alpaca carpet that we are sitting on. So I would be very, very offended if someone were to ruin it with bloody garbage and bits being spewed forth like a geyser upon my alpaca, or not even my alpaca carpet if we were upstairs in the VIP lounge. So to prohibit and not need to have expert cleaning crew, because you know I do not trust them. I do not trust them at all. You know the original word for villain was just people that worked in the villa. But anyway, that's a tangent that I'm not going to go down right. So when you're around dead folks, don't do nothing living. Unless, of course, that living is something hot and heavy that leaves stories that you could probably film.
Duly noted.
So, being as we all gonna be doing each other a favor, dear, I understand that you had a mission and Nicole. Anyway, there's been lots of calls. That little boy Drew, he been calling around something crazy. Like we don't know that he was too busy in somebody else's pants. Forgive me for saying this, Mr. Volkir, but your man, it's not really your man. It's kind of everybody's man right now. Just want to put that out there for you. I know it's a lot to take in. I'm not sure what sort of open situation you all have, but he has been working his way through all of the few little unaligned and thin-blooded that run through here. He has stories about him, and I must commend you. According to everything I hear, he is very skilled. But be that as it may, him calling around pissed me off tonight. He done reached out to nearly everybody and anything on the list. He is and I don't like dealing with my child. They're a little too clingy. You know this again. You know this very much. Now I'm not telling you nothing you don't know. But Marion can be a little bit much. So what I would like you all to do for me, upon rising, and I'll make sure that you all have is there any preferences? Me personally, I like a little bit of tan, a lot of bit of spice, and someone can hold a conversation after. Someone just done roll over and go to sleep. You know what I mean? I'll take that as a yes. So, are there any preferences?
Okay. I just want to rewind it back just a little bit. We'll jump back to this. But before Lothair left, because I didn't get to say it before Lothair left, they would have gotten a kind of like a brush on the cheek from Dia. And then the phone, of course, during this whole conversation got palmed and slipped into their inner jacket pocket. And they'll look at it later. But then, yeah, we're back to what's going on now. Well, you know I like beautifuls. Male, female, but beautiful. Petite is more my liking. But whatever.
She cuts her eyes to goodness when you say petite. I can tell. So we have one request. And you gentlemen are okay? Or you just don't have a preference? Anything will do.
I spent too many years in the Army, too many years as a cop. Any donut in the shop will do me.
Don't tempt me, because I will definitely make sure you find something cream fit.
The thrill of chasing some scumbag down and taking his blood for my own, I prefer that feeling much more than any carnal pleasures.
Carnal? There is nothing carnal. And when she says there's nothing carnal, she takes her middle finger and lightly rubs down from her collarbone over her pectoral down towards and stops just where her shirt begins. There's nothing carnal about anything that we do here, sir. Unless, of course, that's your bag of tea. But if you need something a little more feisty, you happen to be in luck. I have recently obtained a fresh supply from Sephora, and I have just the thing for you. Sophia, dear, would you please stop patting my phone over there? Thank you so much. And she takes her phone and opens it up, swipes through a couple of times, and then turns the phone towards you. It is a gentleman who is, even in the picture, looks as if he might compete with you in terms of size. He has several prison tattoos visible down his cheek and across his neck. He is clearly the sort that would fight for every inch of ground. This gentleman here has proved to be a little more difficult, even with all his force training, but we do get a few of the blue bloods who like to partake of specific sorts. He will do for you.
Not too hungry right now, but I may go for a bite.
Excellent. I will make sure that you are locked in with him, and it will be a Thunderdome. 2 shall enter and 1 shall leave. I would love to see that, but that might be a little bit too much for me, and plus Ads doesn't like me partaking of violence. He says that it makes things a little more complicated than they should be. You know them Jamaicans. Though he's West Indian, don't tell anybody I called him Jamaican. I find it funny, but he takes offense. I don't know why. It's just a joke. But all the same, what I would like for you all to arrive in Milwaukee after discussing things with Prince Decker. That sounds funny. Prince Dicker. Anyway, once you all get there, you have explained to him that his wayward child is not on the radar, not findable, not locatable. I need you all to help as best as you can our little wayward Rose. She was a little bit miffed that you didn't pay proper respects to her party. And it's a good thing that you didn't. It was a local salon. You know, her sire has been put to rest, so she's not quite all there currently, mourning his loss, and Barth is no help at all. Poor call for a member of our clan. But anyway, she will need your assistance with a package that has found its way there. You all will help that little package that she has found escort it to Dalton so that Secundus can take it into Gary when she goes to assist Silk. Would that be something that you all could do for us?
Doesn't sound too hard.
Seems I am a shepherd as of late and leading little lambs home. So, yes, I guess that makes sense to me.
Excellent. I'm so glad you all agreed. It makes things a little easier for me to tell you. I don't know how aware you all are when it comes to that heebie-jeebie hoodoo voodoo stuff, but it's a box, and she makes a sign with her hands showing the side of the box. It is not the best box. It is no skill, no talent put into it, but it's about this big, and it will do things to you if you hold it too long. So what you want to do is put it as far away from you as possible, get it back there quickly. So goodness, when you are alone with this thing, make sure that you keep your phone on, talk to somebody here and now so that you don't get lost. I know it's not that far, but I have heard horror stories.
If it's the hoodoo voodoo aspect of things, I can be of some help with that.
Well, maybe you could help. I will give you her number. And she starts, give me your phone, please.
I hand over my Nokia flip phone that I use for kindred business.
She jots down, she types in the number and calls, holds the phone up. And when the person answers, this is the person you need to talk to about that little stone you had delivered to you. Now, make sure you call them when they get there. They will be there tomorrow. Do not dilly-dally. When you are mad enough as it is, we do not need you to get mad up. Goodbye. And she hangs up her phone and passes it back to you. She will be there for you all to reach out to.
I suppose I should stop and get a gift along the way. I owe her for not showing up to her so long.
It is a good thing you didn't. Child, they done. And she looks at, we all friends, right?
Friends as anyone.
Well, you will forgive me for gossiping a little bit here. The salon that you missed, child, she attempted to bring her sire out of torpor. They had this stone delivered. Some kindreds that were passing through New Bearers territory up there in Winnetka found this thing in a graveyard. Why would you go digging around a graveyard trying to find friends? I have no idea. But they made sure that Silk was aware of it, but they took it to Milwaukee because they were on their way to Canada. Friends of Peterson, it seems. And the salon that you missed had so many of them when invisible and losing their connection with one another. Some of them even stated that they found themselves in Enosh. I know it seems ridiculous, but that's what they swear. I think this is mildly hallucinogenic, getting in the air or something. I'm not sure. I don't do the hoodoo voodoo, and I didn't have time to talk to DeSable. He ain't been taking my call since whatever happened to Golgotha. Seems as if it's too busy. But all the same, I would hate for you all to have gone insane when they tried to summon whatever it was they summoned. Some spirit, some other things.
That sounds untoward.
It definitely does. I believe roughly 10% of everything they said. I think they may have just had the opportunity to obtain some very, very bad blood. Because you know when trying to raise someone from torpor, you need as best blood as possible. And they clearly did not have the opportunity to obtain the best blood possible. So who knows what they got their hands on. Safoa has stopped doing business with them. Can you believe that?
If people aren't going to be careful with the bombs they're playing with, better not to play with their bombs.
That's what I always say. I don't believe in using explosives. There are much better ways to render a target neutralized. As you all saw, Karen was none too happy with me stopping her sowing her wild oats. I tolerate her because Modius liked her so much more than Messiah, but it is growing quickly upon me that perhaps maybe I should do away with both her and Aluk. I don't like him none. His childhood was rude.
So you need us to carry this package to Gary tomorrow?
I would prefer you all take it all the way because I really don't want Seki here by herself. But unfortunately, I understand you all have things to do down there in Dalton with everything that's been happening. So I will appreciate if you take Seki with you down to Dalton and leave her a little time by herself with this thing, just in case they were right.
I've been tasked to assist the sheriff down there. I'm not sure he calls himself the sheriff, but I've got tower blood in me, so that's what I call him. But I've been tasked with Frost to go meet with him tomorrow, so I could, in theory, make it all the way to Gary and back to my meeting, but I really don't need to be late.
No, you don't. That I have. Dear, is it true what they say about Mr. Mitchell?
I don't know if it's true, but even if it's half true, it's all scary.
I guess I'm just attracted to dark, scary me, and I need to do something with myself. So I will escort you all to your sleeping chambers, and you all will rest. I hope you all don't mind. Unfortunately, the accommodations here are only Tempur-Pedics. We don't have any of the better stuff down here. It's so hard to replace as of late. Ballard has been holding his purse strings a little tighter than usual. But anyway, right this way. She gets up from the divan and Sophia is there with her, and you can tell that they've had a word or two earlier in the evening, and Sophia has been biting her tongue, unlike her normal colorful self, but she is still game to help assist and host. She shows off several chambers where you all can choose to either sleep together or separately. And then there's some separate chambers thereafter, rooms. They're not as well appointed as what anyone who's managed to visit Salacious or anyone who's managed to visit the Piscateers or anyone who's managed to visit the Hideaway would be accustomed to. But it is definitely more than standard. It's just not extreme.
I make sure that Frost ends up in my room.
So as you all are escorted, she leaves you a few moments to settle in, to speak amongst yourselves, and she makes herself and Sophia scarce, giving you all an opportunity to speak.
So what are your guys' thoughts on this? I never had too much of a brain for politics.
With Toreadors, politics are relative. I don't know. The best way to describe it would be if we elected a bunch of supermodels to be president. Think about the politics that would bring about. That's what it's like dealing with the Tories. It's not bad per se, but it's what you wear is important. As important as what you say. And Dia played it perfectly.
Most of the ones I met, either I ignored or me and the Jane were being the shit out of first. One of the dumbasses siring some pretty artist girl he just had to have without Prince's permission.
Yeah, Toreadors are, honestly, outside of Tremere, they're some of my favorite people because I know what I'm dealing with when I walk in the door. Right now, we're in what you would call their power base. This club, this whole building, especially the meeting that was happening, that was all them. They owned it. But outside, Toreadors are a little easier to deal with one-on-one because they're not vying against each other. There's always that mean girl vibe when you got 2 or 3 Toreadors in the same room. So it's just, I mean, if you're not one of them, you're never gonna be one of them. There's nothing you can do about it. But best to always try to look your best, try to act your best. The best way to put it is be the best vampire you can be. So when she was talking about the whole beer thing, for her, that was a serious conversation.
To me, it just seemed like she loves hearing herself talk.
Yeah, and that's the thing you gotta realize, that Toreadors don't talk unless it's important, because they will use what they say against each other, and they'll hold it against you basically forever. So the next
I
time
know.
you have to deal with these Milwaukee Tories, the Milwaukee Roses, I'd say make a special effort. No human food. And trust me, I understand. I'm with you on this. I love me a donut. And I will push a small child off a bridge to get a good donut, even now. But when I'm around certain groups, Toreadors, Ventrus, even some Tremere, I hold it in. And for you, I'd say hold in that beer reflex until we're out of the park.
Fair enough.
Other than that, they're not a bad sort. Toreadors are... The thing I've found about Toreadors is they don't lie. They'll tell a half-truth all day and twice on Sunday. And they'll put emphasis on what most people would consider inconsequential. But they won't tell you a direct lie.
Unless it benefits them, then all of a sudden they forget about who they owe a boon to, but then they will not let a single person forget who owes them a boon.
Well, no,
The blood for them.
they'll only do that if they can absolutely get away with it and brag to the right people. I mean, a Tremere, I don't like to speak ill of my family, but a Tremere will lie to your face. A Ventru lies on reflex. Toreador will only lie if they're absolutely sure they're going to get away with it, and they can brag about it later.
And on that note, with Bob and Seth having their last few moments of the night, discussing what lay ahead of them, what they will be dealing with, we draw to a close for the evening with the characters settling in. We're gonna start back in roughly 10 minutes with a quick rouse roll and them being provided the opportunity to feed at their leisure before hitting the road to make it to Milwaukee. So at this point, let's take a quick 10 minutes and be right back here at 16 after the hour.
All right.
Hey dogs, let's go outside. Hey Chief, make sure you're up here or you're downstairs.
Got Rob's routes, and Seth, would you be so kind as to go ahead and toss out a rouse? We will see.
I don't wanna have the worst rouse luck lately. Sorry.
All right. Well, we're going to do the average of that for Dia, which is either or. We'll decide that when they get here. Luckily for you all, as you all snap back to life, literally closing your eyes for a moment and opening them, night having dropped and descended upon you like a pile of bricks for Robert, with the beast demanding sustenance. It is with no small bit of animalistic glee that you smell the brute aftershave in your space. It is with the small animalistic glee that you smell the salt of their sweat beneath the scent of brute. The heavy breathing and the fixation on you. You can feel the eyes as he stares from beneath his brows. So you're the guy that want to get his ass kicked, huh? And he stands, rolling his shoulders and rolling his necks and limbering up as if it's going to be a street fight instead of what it's actually more than. Because while he has you in weight, you have him by the simple fact that you are dead, possessed of a beast, and have spent the last 5 years tossing men roughly 1.5 times his size with abandon. and he sets upon you, coming in with the wild haymaker that the enclosed space doesn't fully allow. What's Robert's response?
Well, Robert does like play games with his food. Robert's gonna stand open arms, chest open. Show how tough the dead can be.
Let me guess, you have fortitude?
Yes. Now I'm gonna look up how that power works today.
What do you have?
Toughness.
Typically, it adds whatever level dots you have in fortitude to your health pool. So if you have 2 dots in fortitude, it'll add 2 extra health.
What's that?
Alright.
How the power work again? I swear it was like minus damage.
Did you have toughness, not resilience, so you need to roll a rouse check first and foremost. And once you roll that rouse check, you will, well, that's just to activate it. And once you do so with toughness, what you're going to do is subtract fortitude from the damage you sustain. And in this case, being as you're taking the full weight and hit you with 4 successes with +4, that's 8 total superficial, which would be half to 4 minus your fortitude. All right, so he actually is surprisingly strong, surprisingly skilled at hammering foes until they stop moving. The fact that you take his full headlong rush and wild arcing haymaker to the chest, being a slightly thinner man, a slightly smaller man, shakes his confidence, but not enough to stop the animalistic flurry that begins flailing in your direction afterwards. It is the closest approximation to what wrestling would look like if it was unscripted. He is attempting to flail and beat you until you are a puddle at his feet. What is Robert's response? After the first hit and shows that he's actually stronger than he probably should be. Clearly on some substance.
So which of these Tory tits you sucking off? See a little bit of strength upon those blows.
So Robert immediately begins tongue lashing him as he flails. And as expected with someone so physically oriented, the blows to his ego result in him channeling his inner childlike Hulk, and he begins to yell, "You son of a..." It is a foregone conclusion that not only will Robert suffer through and demolish the man, it sounds from the outside. Robert, who is to the right of Seth, who is to the right of Robert's room, hears what sounds like the most involved assignation possible. And Dia, who is to the left of Robert, it sounds like the most ground-shaking, toe-curling, rough play you have. The grunts, the slapping of flesh, the eventual quiet that falls on completion. With neither of your beasts having risen to the fore, both of you are presented with the gift of sustenance. In the room with Seth and Frost are 2 individuals who waiting patiently to devour. And in Dia's room is, strangely enough, a bearded youth who has spent far too much money on beard, but she is surprisingly well formed, barring clear indulgence in minoxidil beard oil.
Dia, hearing the neighbor thing going on, kind of fans himself like, okay, I see you get it. But looking at their guest, No, you said it was a he or she,
She.
but there's a beard.
Yes.
Interesting. It kind of confuses Zia for just a minute as to how to approach. But then they quickly recover themselves and go for a more finger cricking come to me sort of thing, and pats the bed next to them.
She walks over with a very practiced, melodramatic version of Denzel's walk. It has clearly been practiced. It has been clearly designed to attract the gaze. And she settles next to you on the bed, making eye contact, that long, lasting contact that is designed to keep one focused.
My, aren't you a brave one? I like your beard. And Dia will reach out and run their fingers through it, kind of combing through. And what to do with you? Is there anything I should know before we start?
She begins listing off, okay, so I'm okay with scratching, I'm okay with biting, I'm okay with finger play, I'm okay with a little beard tugging, but if you tug too rough, I'm going to return the favor. I'm okay with a little hair pulling, but you got to start it at the roots and get a good latch. I don't want any hair to be falling out. I'm okay with a little wrestling. No, not too much, because that really turns me on. I may get a little excited. No elbowing above the collarbone, and no biting below the knee. It is really close to the bone and makes it really hard. And the list goes on roughly 45 seconds. And when parsing it down to the actual facts, literally she says anything outside of purposeful malicious pain is pretty much what all of her rules amount to. So is that good for you?
Fine with me, yes. Come, and then they proceed to strip them of their clothing, and you know what happens next, fade to black. And when we return, there is Dia wrapping a wrap around themselves, a silk wrap, because they're going to change their clothes. So wrapping a silk wrap around themselves and patting their new little friend on the bottom, who's probably passed out on the bed, and walking out of the room for the evening.
Now, Seth, as a typical bagger, having fresh, uncut, to the point blood is too much of a good thing. You've gotten accustomed to what gets you by, the bare bones ration of it all. Even the fractionated stuff he's gotten accustomed to, so he's okay with, the very much filtered, the very much paled version of it. Having the real there in front of him, where does that place him in Frost? Seth, did we lose you? Okay. Well, it seems as if technical difficulties is the word of the evening. With that being the case, to a close this evening. We're already down a few members, but after playing with everyone's food and divesting themselves of any semblance of the fact that Erzulie has spent the waking moments, instead of clearly feeding, making the storage room of clothing available to all, so that when you arrive in Milwaukee, you're considerably more presentable if you choose. Leave the party selecting their ensembles for their drive to meet Prince Decker. I want to thank you all for a lovely session, and we'll look forward to you with next episode. Hopefully we'll have fewer difficulties. Thank you all once again. See you in the funny papers, as it were, with the prompts that will come later. Good night, everybody.
See ya. See you guys. Bye bye.